Greetings, folks, and welcome to today's show. As you've probably heard me say before, by almost any standard, our criminal justice system is broke. The numbers, I think, speak for themselves. We have something on the order of 5% of the world's population and somewhere between 25 and 30% of the world's prisoners. That's a nationwide number, but it reflects on down to some extent to the local level as well. They are beginning to be of some awakening of the fact that this is really a problem we should take care of, in as much as we spend more money on prisoners than we do on education. And that's obviously backwards. And one of the programs that has gotten started and shows some promise and is growing actually started right here in the neighboring county, in Franklin County. And we have with us today Sheriff Tim Fuller, who is the sheriff of Franklin County. And it's his jail and his undertaking, really, that established a program that is, I think, again, by any standard, is really accomplishing some good and is well worth supporting and expanding. So, Sheriff Fuller, thanks for taking the time to join us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here today.
Welcome to the show. Yeah, we're happy to have you. So, with that, folks, let's take a short commercial break and we'll get to our subject.
You made the time and the sacrifice to broaden their horizons, to see their smiles, but mostly to make lifelong memories. We think it's time to do it again, just the two of you. Don't let illness or injury slow you down. The rehab team at Life Care Center of Tullahoma is ready to help you live well.
Gridlock of party politics in Congress has affected every American, both your family and mine. Far too long, they've forgotten the very people they serve. That's why I'm running for Congress in the 6th Congressional District of Tennessee to be your representative. I promise not just to reach across the aisle, but I'll stand in it. Let's stand for teachers and school systems. Let's support the elderly and our brave veterans and military. I'm not asking you to vote for me, but to vote for us. I'm Mike Winton, and I approve this message.
Let the Smokehouse be your mountain getaway destination in beautiful Monteagle, Tennessee. Enjoy our cabins, restaurant, and old general store. Shop thesmokehouse.com, featuring homemade barbecue sauces, jellies, and many other fine Tennessee products. Our live Music on the Mountain series features some of the best local and Nashville talent every Friday and Saturday night, 6:30 p.m. No cover, kids welcome.
Greetings, folks. We're talking today with Sheriff Tim Fuller from Franklin County, and we want to talk about an education program for inmates that he's been very supportive and very active in, one of the leaders, really. And so we want to talk about that. But before we get to that, let's find out a little bit about Sheriff Fuller. Give the folks a little background.
This is my third term in office. Just was re-elected to my third term. I'm going into my 9th year as sheriff. I'm going into my 33rd year in law enforcement. And of course, I was born and raised in Moore County, just a short distance from here in the Montlow College, Lever Mill community, and went to work in Franklin County in 1985 as a deputy sheriff, and then 3 years prior to that, I'd worked for Moore County Sheriff's Office. But over the course of time, I've seen, it took me a long time to come to realization that locking people up and throwing away the key doesn't work. As you alluded to earlier in your opening, the numbers speak for themselves. You know, I've had a philosophy I have since day one, is, and even dating back to my first election in '06, even prior to that, do something with them while you've got them. And we have done just that. But at the same time, you always got to keep in mind, jail is meant to be punishment. It is. But at the same time, we encounter so many facets with people that's unbelievable. Anything to the most educated, well-educated person that you could imagine, to the most uneducated, can't even read and write person, and everything in the middle. And I still feel to this day that there's some good in everybody out there. Sometimes you may have a hard time finding it, but also at the same time, there's some that are just evil, and that's just the way it goes. But at the same time, with a program that we implemented in actually '07, the planning of it dates back to shortly after I took office in '06. So I've got to give credit where credit's due. Miss Christine Hopkins, which is retired from the State War Task Force, is absolutely instrumental in putting this reentry program together. So,
very good, yeah.
You know, she is the one that put the pieces to the puzzle together for us. And of course now it's expanded to Franklin, or to Coffee and Warren County as well. You know, it's based upon grant funding. And our focus, while we've got these folks in jail, is if they don't have a GED, get them classes to get that GED. Is if they do not have, a lot of folks in jail don't even have something as simple as identification to be able to go out and even apply for a job, any sort of identification. But your GED, job readiness, parenting, and also work skills, and all of that hubs around the assessment on the front end. And we have a real strong partnership with our business community. How many places do you know in society that will hire a convicted felon? And a part of that is with this program, is we've built those relationships, and we've been very, very successful with getting people, not only when they're coming out of jail, getting them a job, but be able to keep that job and not get into new criminal conduct, new trouble.
One of the things I think we want to emphasize is that you'd rather not deal with the same prisoners
Absolutely.
2 or 3 times, right?
Absolutely.
So our, what they call recidivism, our
Yes.
return rate, those you let out and come back is typically quite high.
Absolutely, and we see that not only in the state of Tennessee, but we see it across the nation. That recidivism rate is so high, and that's one of the things that was a cornerstone of my feeling was in the very beginning, is we've got to do something to turn this around. And if you notice, and I hate to use this as an example, but if you notice, we're having to build on the jails, we're having to build more facilities, and we are having a lot more people up than ever before. Now, there's a lot of things that play into that. But at the same time, when you start seeing people that have been there the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, the 80th time, we have people in our county literally that have been in jail 80 to 100 times. And in most cases, it hubs.
You'd think they wouldn't live that long.
Well, each county across this state, and I think city, has your people, for lack of a better term, that are the town drunk. You know, those people you may not be able to do much with. You just may not. But at the same time, the ones that I feel confident that we can do is a second and third offender that's sitting there that may or may not had a great childhood, who knows. But at the same time, we're seeing more than ever before folks that have never worked anywhere in their life. They have, unfortunately, how they've made it this far, I really don't know. But they don't know what it is to go out and even apply for a job, how to dress for that interview.
This is all part of your training.
That's all a part of this program.
You have to start with an evaluation of some kind, I guess, don't you, to see
we do an assessment on the front end, an assessment, and that assessment includes the previous work history, if there is one, education. What would you like to do as a job? What do you think you would like to do? Or would you like to further your education, or ultimately at the end of the day, where do you want to work to make a living? And that is a part of the assessment process. And that assessment is so vital to what we need to do to plug this person in. And as a part of that is one of the classes that we have is parenting skills. It's amazing to me how many people we have in jail that don't know how to be a parent. Their example of being a parent is sit around bragging about how much alcohol or drugs they consumed in front of their small children, and expect their children when they grow up to be a good person and not be in trouble. Well, what kind of example is you as a parent is setting there? That is a part of the parenting class as well. So we're not just addressing one issue of getting the person a job and being productive, but hopefully also how to be a parent. And so many times we see, unfortunately, in our facility, we see the worst of the worst when it comes to that parenting piece. And I guess, for lack of a better term, not being a parent, So that is a part of the program. And of course, as I said earlier, we've seen some good results with this program, and it's expanded throughout into Coffee and in Warren County by the virtue of grant money, and also I commend Sheriff Graves and Sheriff Matheny in those two counties for making a stance. It's not popular in law enforcement to say, hey, I'm willing to help an inmate. It's just not popular. But at the same time, you've got to realize at some point in time they're going to get out of jail in most cases. Very seldom do you ever see people that are there the rest of their life. They're going to get out.
What about, talk a little bit more about the content of your training program?
One of the basics that getting back down to the program, one of the basics that we look at is that education piece. And where can you get a job in society without a high school education or a GED? It's almost impossible. There's a few places out there, but where can you get a job without that education?
It's going to become more and more difficult.
Absolutely. Today is more than ever before. High school, GED is, yes, it's very, very important, super important, but more and more today than ever before. You need a college degree to be able to be marketable to get a job. And we have folks that are in trouble, that have gotten themselves into a situation where they're serving time in jail, that had every educational background for the imagination. And there's times we use folks to mentor each other inside the facility, to help them to be able to prepare for that GED. GED program is we average somewhere around 20 to 30 a year that graduate or that complete their GED from our facility. And then on the other side of it, the other part of the program that goes hand in hand with the GED is that job readiness. Job readiness.
Readiness, okay.
And
before we get into the readiness, we need to take a short commercial break,
Sure.
and we'll be right back, folks.
Sure.
At the time, maybe you were just building a bridge, a business, or a community. Maybe you were simply working for a home or a better tomorrow. At the time, you served out of duty and love of country. But in that time, we see a legacy created, an American dream lived. The rehab team at Life Care Center of Tullahoma is ready to help you live well.
The Kia Cadenza sale continues at Russell Barnett Kia of Tullahoma. We still have a great selection to choose from. Purchase one of these Kia Cadenzas out of dealer inventory and receive dealer invoice pricing, starting as low as $32,545. No games, no gimmicks, no hassles. With America's best warranty, the 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, Kia is the power to surprise. Invoice pricing for a limited time only. Russell Barnett Kia of Tullahoma. Why buy anywhere else?
I'm meteorologist Leland Statham from the News Channel 5 Weather Center. Look to Jim Fuller and crew for local news night here on Channel 6.
We're back, folks, and we're talking today with Sheriff Tim Fuller of Franklin County, and we are dealing with the program that they have established, in which hopefully is growing to try to put their inmates in a position of being productive, constructive citizens instead of winding up back in jail. So, Sheriff Fuller, we were talking a little bit about the content of your
Right.
program, what you're doing with it.
One of the key components to the GED, the education piece, is job readiness, and to be able to go out and interview for a job. We have so many people that they're not prepared. They don't know what to be expected. And all of those things play into the job readiness program. Work ethic, showing up to work on time, if not early. Also, you know, we think about job readiness. We think about, you know, the last time you interviewed for a job. How did you show up? What was your appearance? Did you show up in, I call it sagging and bagging pants and slumped down in a chair? You know, answered questions, well, yeah. You know, those type of things, for as job preparation, job readiness, is super important, and a lot of the folks we deal with either have never experienced that, interviewing for a job, or if they have, they've really messed it up pretty bad.
Yeah.
Or have never had that opportunity to interview for that job. And
What are the two or three kinds of jobs that are most common in
our county,
program?
and we're fortunate, we have a great relationship with our business community that are willing to hire convicted felons, people that are coming out of jail, and as a part of the program, you've got to be drug free. You've got to pass drug test, and that's a part of the program. But mostly we have a number of companies in our county that are a support company to Nissan. Plastic injection molding,
Okay.
you know, the components that Nissan needs to make their cars or their automobiles. And we have quite a few factories that will hire out of our program. They're looking for Pacific people with a talent of even computer skills, even down to assembly work, down to welders on occasions. I know a couple of weeks ago, I had a couple business people in our county to call me and want to know if I had people in jail that had CDLs, that they were needing drivers to drive big trucks. And that's something that we stay on top of. Miss Christine stays very much on top of it. And I've got what we call a facilitator that's in the program that actually goes out to different companies and says, hey, you know, who are you looking for?
What do you need?
What are your needs? And we have meetings about every quarter with our business community to see what their needs are. Has it changed from the last time we had a meeting? Because hopefully we can plug these folks in that are coming out after doing their time in jail.
Okay. Well, and your program, you mentioned, got started in addition to Franklin, there was some in Coffee County and in Warren
Right.
County. But now the governor, I understand, has put together a task force, and I believe you're involved in that.
Actually,
what is that, and how's it? What are you supposed to do?
Actually, I am. Back in August, the governor's office called and asked, would I be willing to serve on a task force for the state of Tennessee to address recidivism and sentencing. And by all means, it'll be more than. I was very, very proud and very honored, humbled that our program had gotten that kind of recognition, and at the same time, the task force is made up of so many folks that hub around the criminal justice system, the private sector involved with the task force, from rehabilitation standpoint, drug courts, prosecutors, defense attorneys, sheriffs, chiefs of police, state representatives, state senators that's involved in this task force. And the objective at the end of the day is to be able to reduce our repeat offender rate. Since 1989, with the 1989 Sentencing Act, our sentences for criminal offenses in Tennessee haven't been looked at, hasn't been addressed. 1989 was a very interesting time because our Department of Corrections was in peril with overcrowding. We in the county jail world have been overcrowded since God knows when. We still are. And the sentence structure was of such nature that it had to be looked at, and what can we do to get these folks out sooner than later, so to speak.
So we're not only putting too many in jail, but we're putting a lot of them in too long.
Well,
and
that is a part of this task force, is to answer some of those questions on the resentencing or the sentencing structure, and also what can we do, like with our reentry program, what can we do across the state to be able to put that in place so that we don't see the same face in jail 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
Yeah, tell the folks the difference here. Your return rate in general, and then those that have been through your program, how much have you helped the return rate?
You know, and this is the simplest way I know to explain it. Last year alone, we put 86 inmates coming out of jail into jobs. The 86 we put into jobs have not been back in trouble. They haven't been back in jail. Over the life of our program, it's almost 300 that we have been able to put into jobs and not come back to jail. In other words, they ain't got in new trouble, which I think is great. What reentry and drug court has meant to Franklin County alone, and drug court is another component. We could do another show on drug court.
Yeah.
Drug court and reentry helps each other. Our reentry program helps folks that are in drug court get jobs. But what it means to us each year in our county facility is $1.8 million in savings. If it were not for those two programs, we would be spending an additional $1.8 million per year for those people to be incarcerated in jail.
We've only got a minute. How do you think the state program is going to go? Are you getting enough interest? Is it going to go?
I feel great with it. The governor sat down. We've had 2 meetings. He sat down with us in the September meeting and expressed what his interest was and what essentially he wanted us to look at, what he wanted us to suggest in doing at the end of the day. Where we go with that. I feel great about it. I feel like we're going to come out with some dynamite answers. Good. And with the energy that we have, that the folks that are involved in this, all of us have a passion for what we do.
Well, meanwhile, with your passion, we have run out of time, folks. We're going to have to take a short commercial break and come back and wrap up.
Imagine a world with more birthdays. We strive for it every day. We fight to get people the best access to care and the chance for more parties to plan. We're the American Cancer Society. Help create a world with more birthdays at morebirthdays.com.
Get your news first, fast, and free with your news leader on 6 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights at 6, 8, and 10 p.m. Local weather, sports, community calendar events, and a comprehensive look at the latest news stories and news makers as only a video news broadcast can do. Get it first, fast, and free with News Leader on Channel 6, your local information network.
We've been talking today, folks, with Sheriff Tim Fuller of Franklin County, and we've been talking about their program to try to train inmates that are trainable, put them in a productive workforce instead of winding up back in jail. Sheriff Fuller, have you got a quick minute you'd like to speak direct to the folks?
I'll try to make it a minute. It's almost
want some money?
Almost a campaign ad, almost, but it's not. I do appreciate the opportunity to come into your program today. I would like to say that, you know, it's easy to sit around sometimes and criticize what's wrong, what's not right with the system. But at the same time, always remember one thing: evil triumphs when good men do nothing.
Yes.
And doing nothing's not an option. So I'm very passionate about what we do. You know, it can never be said that I hadn't tried to make a difference.
And you do a lot of credit. I want to thank you for joining us, for spending your time with us, and we will wish you good luck, of course, and thank you folks for inviting us into your parlor, and we'll see you next time.